here for BIT4101 Human Computer Interaction. We'll have a recap from our last week's class, where we looked at what human computer interaction is. And we said that it is the study of how computer users and the computer interacts. We all know very well that the computers do not have a language, a common language with the computer users. They do not have a way on which they can interact, on which they can communicate. So human computer interaction through an interface brings that space on how human computer users and the computer can have, can interact, can communicate. And that is what we are recapping from our last week's class. We will also look at psychological factors of HCI. And in our last week's group discussions, we looked at the first time when you are interacting with the computers. That's the very first day when you are given a computer and you are asked to use it. What are some of the feelings? What are some of the things that came about in your mind? And we got some of the things from you. One of them was the fear of unknown. People feared. You are given a computer and you don't know whether it is going to blow out on you. You don't know whether it is going to maybe interfere with your eyes. You didn't know whether it is going to be well once you start working with the computers. And we said all that put together is it's called technophobia. One of the psychological factors of human computer interaction is technophobia, where people fear of unknown, where there's an anxiety, where there's excitement. Some of you just get excited. The first day when when you're given a computer to use, you're very excited. You thought from that day on you'll be a computer expert. There was anxiety. You didn't know what next. If I pressed this button, what will happen? That is technophobia. Then we also looked at user-friendly, because computers made your things, you're working very fast. Computer made your life very easy. So it became user-friendly. It became like a friend, like a partner to you. Another thing was providing shortcuts, those for experts. For those who had already learned computer packages, you didn't have to go through the long process when you want to save. You just click on the shortcuts, so that you save your work. So those are some of the technological factors that come along with the HCI. Then we move on to an interface. We had earlier talked about an interface, and we said it is what brings that closeness. It's what brings that, that link that makes you, the computer user, and the computer interact. It brings that communication space. It brings that link between you and the computer. We went ahead and looked at improving human-computer interactions, because we already know now what are some of the good things. Some of the good things that human-computer interaction brings to us. So how do we improve it? Some of the things to use in improving HCI are use of command structures and menus. For example, what we have here, when you go to the menu bars, you want to save a document, just go to File, Save, and you go through. Once you go to edit your document, just click on Edit, and then you move on. You go to In View, it will give you a pop-up menu, and you work out your ways through very fast. You go to Insert, you want to insert maybe a button or something, just go to Insert, and then a pop-up menu will come up, and then it makes your life easier. So using of command structures and menus will make your work very fast. Then we also have screen designs. Of course, when designing a screen design for HCI, remember it is HCI that makes interaction between the computer user and the computer. So some of the things to make it improve is the screen designs, which when designing that screen design, they put you, the computer user, in control. They make you, remember the computer uses artificial intelligence. It is not intelligent. It uses your intelligence. So they make you, the computer user, be in control and not the computer to control you. So it is you to give the commands. It is you to give the instructions to the computer. And that is why we say put the user in control as they design that screen design, which you'll use as a computer user to interact with the computer. Then you make the designs consistent. We want a flow of information when you're working with your computer. We want some consistency so that there's that flow of your information. And that is why we say as the screen design is being made, you make it consistent. Then make mistakes. User mistakes should be easily rectified. User mistakes should be easily rectified. We want a situation where, as a computer user, you work freely with your computer. Your computer becomes your friend, in the sense that if there's any mistake, you know very well at the back of your mind that you can still undo, you can still redo, and still go on with your work, but not deleting everything because there's a mistake. We want a situation where at the back of your mind, you know that as I'm working with my computer, which is my friend, which we communicate with and we understand each other well, if there's a problem anywhere, I'll still go back. I will redo. I will still go back and rectify and pick up from where I made the mistake and continue moving. Then error messages. We want a design where, a computer design where there is error messages. Of course, some of the error messages can be very infuriating. Some of them can be very boring. Some of them can just put you off. So we want a situation where when working with your computers and a mistake happens or an error comes, then the computer should be in a position of giving you an error message which will guide you on what to do next, which will give you, a way on how to sort out the problem and continue working. Not boring messages or messages which don't even tell you where to go next. For example, we look at what we have on the screen. An error message comes, sorry, Windows 95 was unable to comply with the go to hell command you specified. What next? As a computer user, let's talk about a naive or a student who's just started working with the computer. This can be very boring. This can be very infuriating. Let's have another example of an error message. The instructions at these referenced memory at that, the memory could not be read. Then you are told click on OK to terminate the application or click on cancel to debug the application. That gives you a direction. If I click on OK, it will take me somewhere. If I click on cancel, it will take me somewhere. There's also another error message that I want us to look at, where the computer tells you an error, some sort of an error. How do you know some sort of an error? If it doesn't give you direction, if it doesn't guide you, how will you know how will you know how to sort out an error? Such like errors. You not know how to sort out such like errors. Then we also move on to availability of help. We want a screen design which will give you that availability of help facility. If there's a problem, then you know where to click so that you get to know what to do next or how to move on from where you are, Let's look at the features of a good HCI. Features of a good HCI. Number one is online help facility. A good HCI will give you that help facility in the sense that if there's a problem somewhere, you know where to go and where to get help. For example, what we have on the screens, what would you like to do? Then you look at what we have here and choose according to where or what you want, or you type what you want to search, or it will even give you options on, which will guide you on what to do next as a student. Another feature is multitasking multitasking capabilities. As students, when you come to the lab, sometimes I see, as I teach, some are browsing, some are playing games, a lot of things. At the same time, you want to concentrate and listen to what the lecturer is trying to say. That is multitasking. We want a computer that gives you that capability. You are here listening to the lectures. In case you don't get anything, you go to the internet, search, look at it, and then verify, so that whatever the lecturer is saying, whatever you don't get, if you don't want to carry up your hand so that I clarify for you, you are there with the computer, searching, getting everything, so that by the time you finish up the class, you have all that you are supposed to be getting from the class. We want such like interfaces. We want such like interfaces that will give you an online help facility, so that if you're stuck somewhere, you don't have to call a technician or give a call to someone to clarify or to give, give you that help. The computer or the interface that you have should be in a position to give you that help facility, like what we have on the screen. And multitasking, we have already said, gives you capability of doing many jobs, many activities at the same time on the screen of your computer. Then we have the chapter questions or review questions, chapter review questions, which you can look at later after the class. One of them is describe 3 of the features of a sophisticated user interface that makes it easy for a novice user or computer user to use. Number 2 is describe 3 features of a sophisticated user interface that makes it quick for an experienced user. Number 3 is give 3 psychological factors which governs how people interact with computer systems. And number 4 is what are the factors you'll need to make into account when designing a screen layout for a database application. And that will wind up the topic which we've been looking at. Let's move on to the next topic, which is user interaction design. User interaction design. User interaction design. Remember, HCI is all about the computer user and the computer interacting, communicating, working together. You giving the computer commands, instructions, and the computer replying to you like it is listening to your language, like you have a common language to communicate. So under user interaction design, we look at the best way that we will work with this computer as the computer user, so that it gives you maximum usability, so that you get like 100% of what you wanted to get as you are using your computer. So the goal of interaction design is to design for maximum usability, so that as you work with your computer, it gives you the best. As you communicate with your computer, you get the whole of it. As you work with your computer, you get the fullness of working with it. Of course, design rules must be put in place, which will be followed in order to increase the maximum usability that we are talking about here with your computer or your system. Of course, the design rules, the design rules will come with standards, with principles, and the guidelines that must be put in consideration for you to achieve that maximum usability. Because you're not just going to use your computer the way you want. Computers must be maintained. Computers must be taken good care of. So there must be rules, there must be standards, there must be principles which you have to follow when you're working with your computer. Then we move on to usability principles. We move on to usability principles. They're divided into 3. We have learnability, flexibility, and robustness. Learnability, flexibility, and robustness. We'll start with the learnability. Of course, for you to achieve that maximum usability, your interface. Remember, the interface is what gives us, the communication link between you, the computer user, and the computer, which is the system. It is what brings the link So under usability principle, learnability means that that interface must be easy to learn, must be quick for you as the computer student, as the student, to get what it wants you to do very fast. Once you're given its manual and you are to work with it, go through it very fast, and it should be understandable. It should be made simple, in a sense that you, the computer student, even if it's your first time to work with the computers, you learn and work with it very, very fast. When we go to flexibility, you know that ICT is very dynamic. It keeps on changing year in, year out. New technologies, new ideas, new information. It's all over. You wake up today, tomorrow, whatever you got yesterday as information in ICT is different. There's a lot of information flooding on our social media, on our researches, so many. So you are not going to have something that is static and cling on it and then leave the new technologies, the new ideas that keeps on flooding our society, our schools, our world, year in, year out. So we want one that is, an interface that is flexible, that when a new technology comes, you just incorporate it. When a new idea comes, you just update it. It incorporates, it takes in every new thing, every new technology that comes along the way, because it will be, or it should be, flexible. Then we have robustness, which looks at the level of support provided to the user in determining successful achievements and assessment of goal-directed behavior. So that will bring the end of our class today, and to be continued next week. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
Hello, I'm Raymond Wafula-Ngus, Associate Professor in the Department of IT within the School of Computing and Informatics. Today we'll talk about logistics information systems, and just to give an overview, we'll look at the recap of the previous lesson, which was in lesson 9, logistics information. We'll look at the management of logistics information and summarize, and we'll have a small class exercise after that. Now, logistics, in the previous lesson we saw that logistics is the process of planning, executing the efficient transportation, storage, and management of the flow of goods from the point of origin to the point of consumption in order to meet the requirements of customers or organizations. Now, as you are aware, there are goods which are brought into the country are held in a port, and then from there they are transported inland in a certain manner. And all that process generates information, as we'll see. And now the term logistics, how did it start? It started in 1846 from the French word logistique, which was coined by a military officer called Antoine-Henri Jomini. The term was derived from the French logis, which means lodging. And the officers who are in charge of the provisions that were necessary for functioning of the army are the ones who are called logistical officers. So logistical officers, logistics and logistical operations have been associated with military activities, okay, concerning the deployment and ongoing support of a nation's armed forces in line with the laid down military strategy and tactics. So logistics involves 7 R's. That is getting the right product in the right quantity, in the right condition, at the right place, and at the right time, to the right customer, and at the right price. These are 7 R's of logistics. Right product, right quantity, right condition, right place, right time, right customer, and right price. In that order. Now, logistics activities are basically 2. There's inbound logistics and outbound logistics. Inbound logistics, you can imagine this one is going into the place where it is supposed to be used. The goods are moving into the place where they're supposed to be used. And outbound, it means they are being dispatched from the factory. Now, inbound logistics is generally understood to be the sourcing, expediting, and receiving of goods that come into or are delivered to the business organization. Conversely, outbound logistics is all about warehousing, packaging, transporting of goods, going out of, or dispatched from the organization. Like, for example, from a factory to where they are supposed to be utilized or consumed. Since the goal of logistics is to meet customer requirements in a timely, cost-effective, and efficient manner, there are many organizations that one can think of. For example, FedEx, UPS, DHL, G4S, Wells Fargo, and so on. These are well-known logistics providers. There are also various logistical companies operating in our airports. We can see there are so many companies, clearing and forwarding companies in the airports, seaport, inland ports, and so on. Okay? Some logistics companies are related in packing and moving services, courier services, and so on. Then right now, because we are going through a stage whereby the medical officers, medical personnel need a lot of equipment, there is also Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, the KEMSA, which is specialized in medical logistics. As you know, right now there is the global pandemic, and they need a lot of logistical support in terms of drugs, medical supplies, and so on. Now, logistics has several components which we can talk about. There is inbound transportation, there is outbound transportation, fleet management, the management of the vehicles and all the trucks that transport goods from point to point. Then warehousing, where the goods are kept for some time. Then materials handling, order fulfillment, inventory management, and then demand planning. Now, logistics is an information-based process. That means there is a lot of information that is generated and consumed. And it's an information-based process of material movement across the supply chain. Now, in order to conform to the various intricacies of logistic processes, normally normally consumes and generates considerable amount of information. For better and more efficient coordination of the logistics activities, information has to be managed at all times. Now, there are various components of a logistics system which manages that information that is handled during logistics. As you can see, there are so many. There is, for example, inventory management, transportation, storage and handling of materials, packaging, information processing, demand forecasting, purchasing, facility location, production planning, and many other activities, including customer service. Now, in the management of logistics information, there are several factors that are involved, and logistics information systems are therefore expected to do the following: to provide information on goods delivery and dispatch. That is the basic factor that is considered. Provision of information on goods delivery and dispatch. Okay, then they follow or track their delivery path. We have tracking mechanisms, the way bill numbers and so on, or the numbers that are used to track on the online. Then monitoring progress and status and the influence of changes in the purchasing, production, and so on. Then organizing warehousing of goods. How will the goods be packaged and how will they be stored in an efficient manner? Then performing related financial and accounting, as well as model logistics process and their information flows. Here is an illustration of vehicles dropping or picking items in a logistics organization. Then as they deliver, there's monitoring performance management system, then vehicle dispatch planning system, and all this is controlled with a logistics database in the background, and it provides external system interface and so on. So there's a well-coordinated information system there. Now, in summary, we have looked at logistics activities that exist. Then inbound and outbound logistics. We have looked at the 7 R's of logistics, the components of a logistics system, then management of logistics information. In the next lesson, we expect to cover information systems for the management of logistics activities. Now, there is a small activity that in parting we would like you as students to do. The first thing is you try to explore how a local firm you may be aware of in your locality generally carries out its logistics operations. Then, once you have done that, ask yourself, how does the organization input, process, and output information? Okay? Then, once you have done that, look at the role that information technology plays in facilitating the processing, transmission, and sharing of information by the organization concerned. With that, we come to the end of this lesson. Thank you for your attention.
Televised lectures supplement our robust online learning going on our MKU online platform. You can view more on our televised lectures via our online platform. We are in a digital era, and Mount Kenya University knows this. The following are the steps to follow so as to complete your online application. Download the application form from the website www.mku.ac.ke. Attach copies of your academic certificates and ID. Pay the application fees via M-Pesa pay bill number 270988. Your ID is the account number. The following program is rated PG. It may contain scenes unsuitable for children under the age of 10. Parental guidance is advised.
We all know it. Walked it. every day. But none of them were like these. The world's most dangerous ways to school. Freezing, climbing, risking their lives, all for the chance of a better future. Spectacular and sometimes simply beautiful. The world's most dangerous ways to school. Zamboanga del Norte, a peninsula in the southern Philippines. Children who want to get an education here have one of the most dangerous and most extraordinary ways to school. Their school is located in the heart of the mountains, deep in the rainforest. In circumstances like this, it's hard for many students to get an education. Some walk alone through the jungle for hours. Others risk their lives in order to make it past this Pampang, a steep face of rock and boulders overgrown with moss and tree roots. A gigantic wall that the children must climb every single day in the hopes of a better future. When the sun rises on Mindanao at 5:30 a.m., it gets light quite suddenly.